And here we are. Race 2 of 3. 42 cars set to take on this racetrack, this wooden surface, first of several wooden surfaces. This area, new contender, the 95 of Harrison Burton, well deep in the field, but he still have a shot because he's tied at 0 points. Several drivers. So let's get set. First race of the day, Denny Hamlin, the number 11, followed by his car owner. He owns a 23, a Bubba Wallace. Driver versus owner. 3, 2, green flag. And Bubba wins by a mile. Next up is 21 of Matt Benedetto versus a 38 of Anthony Alfredo. Move to the race. The Benedetto will get that. Next up is Eric Almirola in the 10 versus Timmy Hill in the 66. Good race. Looks like it's Almirola gonna go over there and check. And yes, it is Eric Almirola getting the win. Next up, we have the 20 of Christopher Bell versus the 37 of Ryan Preece. And it's Ryan Preece getting the win. Next up, we have the 13 of Todd Dillon and the 1 of Kurt Busch. Go on board. Oh, Dillon squeaks ahead. 21s aren't doing too hot right now. These are the only two 2021s that are on. Bell and Kurt Busch have been knocked off by non-2021 cars. Heck, this is from 2017 and it's still lost. Bell still lost. Anyways, let's get on to BJ McLeod in the 78 versus another 2021 car in Austin Cindric. Oh, wow! Dirty move by Cindric, dumped BJ McLeod. That was aggressive by the 33. And he will move on because of it. Next up is the 15 of James Davison, who nearly pulled off a miracle in the first race, versus Ryan Newman. And Davison won't be able to pull off a miracle. Newman will get the win. Next up is the 9 of Chase Elliott, the champion scheme. And the 51 of Cody Ware. My dog's going to help me. And oh, Elliott pitted Cody Ware right to the wall. Elliott will win. Ware's had pretty garbage luck so far this season. Got taken out early in the first race of the season. Now gets taken out really early here. See if you can turn it around later. There we go. Joe Logano, another 2021 car, versus Austin Dillon in the 3. Had a somewhat quiet performance in the first race to Dillon, but can he pull one off here? Nope, it's going to be Logano. This is a battle of two 2021s. Kevin Harvick in the 4 and Ryan Blaney in the 12. Ignore the little bit thing on the back of Blaney's that came with the car. But here we go. And Harvick's going to turn Blaney into the wall. And Harvick wins. Next up is the 43 of Eric Jones and versus the 5 of Kyle Larson. And Jones forces Larson into the wall, but Jones wins. Larson is not shown he can be a championship contender, as he has 0 points so far this season. Next up, we have the 40 of Garrett Smithley, last race runner-up, and the 18 of Kyle Busch. Smithy will stay hot with that win over Kyle easily. Next up is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 47. It's Mike McDowell in the 34. Both drivers looking for their first win. And it's going to be Stenhouse. Next up, we have J.J. Yaley in the 55 versus Tyler Reddick in the 8. Last race's winner. And Reddick wins. It's not even close. Next up, we have Josh Balicki in the 32. It's Cole Custer in the 41. And both go right on the wall, but Custer gets the win. Next up is William Byron in the UniFirst 24. This is Ross Chastain in the 42. And Byron, I think he got it. I was right, Byron did win. Next up is Brad Keselowski in the 2 versus Martin Truex in the 19. Side by side, it's Keselowski. Next up is newcomer Harrison Burton with Chase Briscoe. And Harrison Burton will have a rough start to the year as Briscoe gets the win. Next up is AJ Allmendinger in the 16 versus Daniel Suarez in the 99. And Allmendinger gets the win. Next up is Chris Buescher versus Alex Bowman. Chris Buescher dominates that race. Next up is in the final race of round 1, Justin Haley in another last row start, followed by Corey the Joy. And contact, but it's still going to be the Joy. And here are the cars advancing to round 2. The difference between 5 to 1 points are on the line. I'll get the Joy partner. First race of round 2 is Bubba Wallace versus Matt Benedetto. And it's not going to be Bubba, it's going to be Matty D getting the win. Next up is Eric Almirola in 10 versus the 37 of Ryan Preece. And even though Almirola tried the dump, Ryan Preece still gets the win. Next up is the 13 of Ty Dillon versus the 33 of Austin Cindric. Oh, the dump and run! Ty Dillon gets the win. Next up is Ryan Newman in the 6 versus the 9 of Chase Elliott and his champion scheme. And it's Newman. Elliott goes on the rough stuff. Newman wins. Next up is Joey the Gun on the 22. This is the 4 of Kevin Harvick. And Harvick will get the win. Next up is Eric Jones in the 43 versus Garrett Smithley, the last race's runner-up, in the 40. And it's Eric Jones getting the win. Next up, we have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. versus Tyler Reddick. Oh, Stenhouse with the win! Thanks to this man, Tyler Reddick is eliminated. And his points lead is at stake. Next up is the 41 of Cole Custer versus the 24 of William Byron. And Byron wins by a mile. Next up is the 2 of Brad Keselowski, the 14 of Chase Briscoe. And then there's Briscoe with the win. Next up is AJ Allmendinger in the 16 versus Chris Buescher in the 17. And it is Buescher. Well, Allmendinger got screwed by the blanket. Who will be the random driver that will be facing Corey the Joy in round 2? We'll actually advance to round 3, just to make things even. And it's AJ Allmendinger. Next up in round 3 is Matt Benedetto and Ryan Priest. And Ryan Priest is out. Next up, Ty Dillon in the 13 versus Ryan Newman in the 6. Underdogs. And Dylan Barrett will get the win. Now it's Kevin Harvick in the 4 versus Eric Jones in the 43. And it's Kevin Harvick with the win. Next up was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. versus the 24 of William Byron. And it's William Byron getting the win. Next up is Chris Buescher in the 17 versus Chase Briscoe in the 14. Both on the wall, and it's Briscoe squeaking by for the win. Next up is Corey LaJoie in the 7 versus AJ Allmendinger the 16. LaJoie flips as Allmendinger wins. And the first matchup of round 4 is Matt Benedetto versus Ty Dillon. Nothing wrong with the Benedetto there, as he will easily get the win. Next up is Kevin Harvick in the 4 versus William Byron in the 24. And it's too close. Who is it? Also too close, but Byron will get the win. Who will go to the semis? Will it be 14 of Briscoe or the 16 of Allmendinger? Even then, they have a chance to even make the semis. And it's not Allmendinger, Briscoe. Who will face Briscoe in the other semifinal match? Allmendinger will be taken out because he already got his free pass, so Allmendinger cannot move on. With Dylan or Harvick. It is Kevin Harvick moving on. Finally, in the semis, it is Benedetto versus Byron. And it's Byron! Who will join the 24 in the championship? Will it be the 14 of Briscoe and the 4 of Harvick? Good race, and it is Briscoe. And here we go, start of the championship race. Race of 3, it is Briscoe. Byron, I believe, unless Briscoe wins, will have the points lead after this race. But green flag. And Briscoe will win.